Momentum. Momentum is a very powerful thing. There were a lot of things that led to that crash. I mean, honestly, you can tie it clear back to World War I and before. We had all these idiotic tariffs on places. They then tariffed back. But really, when things start to go bad, momentum kind of pours on. And one of the things that really killed us during the Great Depression was as soon as that stock market went down, people started to get scared, started to panic, started to run down to the bank and withdraw all their money. Well, that's how banks stay in business, is keeping your money. You realize we lost 1/3 of the banks in the United States of America, and do you realize people walked up to banks to withdraw their money to find the doors closed, locked, with a notice saying, your money's gone, this bank is out of business. Can you even imagine what that would be like? And yet it happened here. It happened right here in the United States of America because of idiotic policies. Have you ever heard of the term Hooverville? No, I'm not making any Kamala Harris jokes. Hooverville, you ever heard that term? Hoover was the president who put in a lot of the idiotic policies that got us into this place. And at some point in time, unemployment rose to 25%. 25%. Now, when you have an employment like that, widespread unemployment like that, people simply can't afford to live. And again, this is a world that you don't even know, that I don't even know. We've never experienced this. And yet this happened less than 100 years ago in our country. Families would be evicted from their homes, just as they will be today. Can't pay the bills, can't pay the mortgage. Out you go. And families oftentimes had nowhere to go. Oftentimes, mom and dad were either dead or they were kicked out too. And look, it ended up with Hoovervilles, which were tiny little shanty towns on the outskirts of cities. You ever see a place like Brazil? Is a great one. They call them favelas in Brazil. These little ghetto, really, really poor areas where houses, if that's even what you want to call them, are just basically sheet metal and scrap plywood that you've got stacked together to make some sort of a dwelling. That's what a Hooverville was. Shanty towns like that all across the United States of America. A horrendous time. And every person I've ever talked to in my life who went through it's similar to when I talk to veterans who've been through combat. You can tell they get this look, this kind of far-off look in their eye about, man, that was the worst thing ever. And we're talking people who were 60, 70 years removed from it. And they still are emotionally just wretched at the thought of a Great Depression. And I bring all this up because I do genuinely believe we are on the verge of one. I do. And there are a lot of factors that come into play. But I'll tell you, and I suppose this is supposed to make me feel good. It doesn't. It actually makes me feel bad. I told you all this was coming. I am telling you, the public outcry had better start switching gears from save us from the disease and close us all down to open us back up now, or we are heading towards a Great Depression in the United States of America. Not a recession, a Great Depression. And some jerkwater $1 trillion bill in Congress, even if it did pass, ain't going to change that. Not one bit. I have never seen this kind of lunacy in my life. I'm disgusted by the people who lead us, but I'm not surprised. Maybe that is a good thing that can come from all this. On top of the family time, maybe more time in prayer, maybe we all need a helpful reminder that we have a bunch of degenerate sociopaths leading this country. Don't trust them. Ever. That was obviously from the very beginning when we were talking about the coronavirus lockdowns. And look, this is something everyone should have seen coming. Everyone. Left, right, middle, Republican, Democrat, American, Canadian, Mexican, I don't care where you're from. The very idea that you should look at your economy when you get a virus and tell it to stop moving is so irrational and insane and suicidal. And it's not just that the idea exists. This became the mainstream way of thinking. It still is in large part out there. That you can just look at your economy and just hit pause and we'll just start it again when we're ready. What kind of lunacy is this? And of course now that we're already screwed, Now we have all the experts out there like Larry Summers saying, oh, we're going to a recession.
I think when inflation is as high as it is right now and unemployment is as low as it is right now, it's almost always been followed within 2 years by inflation, by recession. I look at what's happening in the stock and bond markets. I look at where consumer sentiment is. I think there's certainly a risk of recession in the next year. And I think given where we've gotten to, it's more likely than not that we'll have a recession within the next 2 years.
Well, thanks. That's awfully helpful now.
Don't miss Jesse Kelly Breaks History, Che Guevara, the latest episode of a new series available now exclusively for First TV supporters. Visit the First TV app or thefirsttv.com to subscribe and start watching today.